I just hope it at least relates to some one person out there. If just one person out there relates to it and like it helps them through something, cope with something, I that would be awesome.
Hey everybody, it's William Carter here with InquisitiveCarter.com. How are you feeling, heading into the release of your EP?
I'm feeling really good. I'm it seems like the hype is getting more and more. People seem to be excited about both projects, the English EP and then the two-song Japanese one. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm like, this is my debut EP as a solo artist. So, a little nervous and anxious, but also excited.
When I listened to it, I was happy when I heard like the Japanese version of the song. So I'm like, granted, I don't know much like my introduction to Japanese culture, through anime, things like that. But
Yeah.
when I listened to it, like I was very like, oh, look, we getting a mix of culture. I was very excited.
Yes, yes, thank you.
But like, I want to know, like, since you mentioned it, what was that decision like to, have Japanese songs included as well to, showcase your culture, your background, and where you came from?
Yeah, so actually, one of the songs on the Japanese, well, actually, both songs have English versions, but so the first one, To Keep You, there was an English version, and that's what I actually started with Smashdown Records. And when I first heard it, I was like, this sounds like Utada Hikaru, which is like my Japanese singer idol. And I was like, this sounds like a song she would do. And I was like, I feel like this song would translate really, really well to Japanese. And so I brought it up to my manager, and they were like, yeah, I mean, if you think so, like, we trust you. We don't know anything about Japanese music, And I was like, okay. And it's crazy because after we translated it to Japanese and recorded it, and I had some people listen to it, everybody was like, this sounds like Utada Hikaru. Like, this reminds me of Utada Hikaru. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was going for. And so I've put out music that's like partially in Japanese. The hook might be in Japanese or the bridge might be in Japanese, but I haven't put out anything that's like the entire thing is Japanese. So I really, really wanted that to be a part of like my debut EP stuff. And but also since we have 5 English songs, I was like, let's just do it separately. Let's do 5 English, 2 Japanese. That way people can like, know that there's a difference between the two projects.
And like, what was your thought process like going in the studio, creating these songs, choosing these songs, for a debut EP?
Yeah, so we actually have had a lot more recorded, but we didn't want to just release them all, because they didn't necessarily all fit together. And with these 5 songs, I really felt like there was a story behind it. And yeah, I just felt like it really flowed in a way that I really liked. And yeah, so I was like, let's do these 5 songs, and then do the 2 Japanese songs. Yeah.
Listening to it, it was definitely cohesion throughout, which is the beautiful thing,
Oh, thank
So you definitely did y'all did very well in that regard.
you.
But like you said, there is a story to be told, and as a listener, we can hear the story throughout each song from beginning to end. What are you trying to tell with this EP?
Yeah. So when I was thinking about the story and like the songs that we were adding and what I was going through at the time, a lot of it, some of the songs started during the pandemic. Well, actually, I think all of them started during the pandemic. And, I had just gone through a breakup right before everything shut down. And I had talked to people who were also either they went through a breakup or even like friendships kind of suffered because of everything that was going on. And so the EP starts off kind of sad, with a breakup. And but then I didn't want it to end sad, because I also like I felt like I really grew during the pandemic and learned a lot about myself. and also my a lot of my relationships really grew, and so I wanted the EP to do to like reflect the story of, yeah, things might be rough at the beginning of something, but there's always cycles, and it'll find its way to a happy place, you know. Yeah, and so like a happy ending. You find love at the end.
Listen, you're not wrong. I don't know your relationship story, but everything happens for a reason.
Exactly.
And whatever that reason may have been, you now have this piece of work that you put your heart and soul into. So, hey.
Yeah.
And because you touched on it a little bit briefly, but because you do come from, a diverse background, how has that formed your taste or maybe your interest in terms of what you like to listen to and what you like to create throughout your career?
Yeah, I grew up listening to Japanese music, so I think that's definitely a big inspiration for me that maybe not a lot of other people who are in my genre, at least Americans and like Western country artists, are they have. And so I like to really combine that. And then also I speak Spanish. I studied Spanish in college, lived in Mexico too. And so I really love Latin American culture. And I live in a neighborhood that's predominantly Mexican. And I really love like Latin music. So that's another part. My last single, Something New, has some Spanish in it. And I just really like to combine the different languages, the different vibes, and making it unique in that way, but also not like all over the place, because we also have similarities in our cultures.
Come through trilingual. All right now. Yeah.
Yep.
Going back to the two songs that are in Japanese on your EP, when you say that they started in English and you translated them into Japanese, what was that process like? Was it easy? Is it, kind of, was it hard to like find certain words? Did they match up? Or like how does that work musically? Because speaking is one thing, but musically, the beat and catching things, how was that?
Yeah, you obviously can't translate everything word for word because it's not going to rhyme. It might not make sense. It might be too long. We had someone help who's also a native Japanese speaker, and that was super helpful because I'm not used to writing a lot in Japanese. So having someone who could be a little bit more poetic with it was very helpful. I obviously want to get to a point where I can do it by myself, but I've written stuff from scratch, and that's a little bit easier than translating something. I feel like from English to Japanese, and then making sure it all rhymes and everything. Um, but yeah, no, it definitely took some help, and then also there's a lot of Japanese songs that include some English. So when thinking about the Japanese songs and which parts we would leave in English, I wanted to leave the parts that didn't necessarily translate well, or that I thought Japanese people could sing easily.
I understand. And ultimately, what do you want listeners to take away from this project?
I just hope that obviously, one, they enjoy the sound and the song, and that it's something that they feel like they can listen to over and over again. Also, I just hope it at least relates to some one person out there. If just one person out there relates to it, and like it helps them through something, cope with something, I that would be awesome. And yeah, I just want people to take away that, you can you can put your work into something and make something tangible with it, and no matter how long it takes, it's worth it if you have a passion for it.